Hey guys, so before this episode begins, I just wanted to quickly discuss what happened during the recording of the original episode that was supposed to be out for this week, which was where me, Carlito Salamanca, and Gavin Stine were going to talk about Star Wars. We're going to talk about the past decade of what's happened within Star Wars and all that stuff. Well, during the recording of that episode, Gavin, obviously, he doesn't live in the Sacramento area. He's down in SoCal. So we were doing all this stuff over the internet, and of course, as you can expect from my explanation, there were some technical issues, and we lost all of his audio basically at the end of the recording period. How the program works that we were using, he had to record his audio on his end, and I record mine on my end, so I only have me and Carlitos talking for the whole episode. Luckily, me and Gavin recorded a closing out the week episode that runs about an hour and 10 minutes prior to recording with Carlitos, where we talk about this past decade, and all the trends and everything that's happened within this past decade, and what we can look forward to in the 2020s. So nothing bad happened during the recording of that episode. So you are going to listen to what was supposed to be closing out the week, which is now the actual episode for this week. And I have a little bit of audio from the Star Wars podcast that is now going to be the closing out the week. It's only about 20 minutes, but it's something. So we're switching things up a little bit this week, but we are going to have both of those guys back on to have their reactions for the reactions of Rise of the Skywalker, which is the new Star Wars movie coming out on the 20th of December. So stay tuned for that. And without any further ado, here's the show. Episode of Closing Out the Week with the Closers Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mark Alvarado, and I'm here today with none other than Gavin G Money G Boy Stine. Hello. He's back. Good, really good.
How goes it, sir?
I'm a little. It's weird for me because the decade is almost over. We're less than a month away from this decade being closed, and oh, how there have been so many memories made in this decade, personally and socially and culturally. And I think the best course of action is us to take a stroll down memory lane, which we love to do on this podcast, and just revisit some of the craziest and most interesting things that happened this decade. Not really personally, but just like in our society. If you would like to take that stroll with me, Mr. Gavin.
Yeah, I would love to, because we're like on this weird precipice, like the future is like we're either gonna like there's like we're on like a cliff, right, as a society, and like 2 feet in front of the cliff, hanging over this crazy deep, like from the SpongeBob movie, like the crazy deep cesspool of death. Floating above is like a stairway. And if we make like a jump about a yard and land on the stairway, we'll be good, We'll make it to we'll be like space travel and shit.
Yeah.
If we don't, it's pretty much over. We're in this weird societal moment where things seem to be like in the past decade.
In what ways have they
much,
changed?
But also so little. It's weird
for you. And that you have seen just off the top of your head before we get into like the nitty gritty.
A very blatant one for me is social media. That because 2010, everybody's on Facebook and all that. Twitter's like a baby. But for the most part, you're just logging in maybe once a week.
I'm getting
ice cream.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But you can say stupid stuff like that on there, but now it's like and I can speak to this because I have all of them, but I don't ever use them. And now it's such a huge part of society that if you don't use them or you don't have them, you might as well not exist. Like, nobody knows you're there. And it's super weird. And, like, even at work, we have,
like, Slack?
Like, internal social media.
Is that what it's called?
Super weird. Yeah. No, it's like it's
weird.
No, it's our own system. But
Chase Connect.
Yeah, it's super weird.
But yeah, with social media, like, it's interesting how, like, before we started the podcast, how I told you, like, back in the day, no one really knew how to act on social media. Now people still don't know how to act, but there's more ways for people to act out. And, like, with stories, with a lot of those, like, there's just a lot more variety on social media of, like, how you can connect with everybody else. And it's not just I can either make a post or instant message somebody. Like, there's a lot more to it now. You can literally that was not possible before. Before you would have to go on to, like, a specific website where there was live streaming and live stream, and nobody was on that. You know, now that, like, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter allow you to just live stream, that's, like, we've talked about in the past on other episodes. Like, there's so many websites that allowed you to live stream that now are just gone because no one uses them. Because why would you use it? Because, like, Facebook, like Facebook, you can do it on Facebook. So it's just like, why not? Just kind of silly. Another way that I've seen things change is the music. Music has changed a lot, and we've talked about this prior, just from, like, when you and I first entered, like, high school, and then now how everything's changed now to today. But, like, it's just crazy, like, where we were at, like, this, like, there was, like, rap, and then there was, like, the indie music was kind of rising at the time, but, like, people weren't really paying attention to that. Like, people were listening to it, but nobody knew that it was, like, its own, like, genre. Like, everyone was like, okay, this is just, like, rock music, I guess, whatever. But now indie music is just there's so much variety under that umbrella that is the indie, quote-unquote, genre. It's just, like, it's, like, taken over. Like, there's no such thing as just, like, an indie artist anymore. Like, there's an indie rock artist, indie folk artist, indie rap artist. Like, there's indie everything, and I guess it has to do with your production quality. I don't know necessarily what distinguishes you as, like, an indie artist as opposed to just an artist, but nonetheless, I feel like there was, like, the camp of people that listen to rap and hip hop, and then the people that listen to, like, emo music. At least that's what I saw. And, like, the metalcore and all that shit.
Yeah, and and even the form of rap and, like, popular music and stuff has completely changed, because at that time you had stuff like, I mean 2010 was really kind of like the dying era of this kind of, well, no, not really, because then you still had Katy Perry and stuff, I suppose, but, like, stuff where it's, like, very formulaic, where you have rap, chorus, like, rap, chorus, end of song. You know, that kind of, like, T.I. and
I'm holding down your road,
Justin Timberlake, was it?
I think that was One Republic, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not it.
No, the...
Dead and Gone.
What's it called? Dead and Gone. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was pre-2010, but that...
God, dude.
That's, like, the best example.
And then also, like, another one.
That was, like,
so live your life
then.
Hey, dude. Fucking, that was, like, Rihanna's first big song too. I'm pretty sure that and Umbrella. I think.
Dude. Yeah. But yeah, that kind of stuff is kind of,
I'm glad,
by the wayside, and now it seems like, well, I mean, there's still definitely a lot of it out there. Like, you still have your Ariana Grandes and stuff like that, but even that is more like, it's more club sounding almost. Like club music.
EDM music has infused itself into pop music, whereas before it was like there's EDM music and then there's pop music over here. and they stay separate, but now you kind of combine everything.
Yeah.
There's just like a lot of bleeding within the genres now.
Yeah.
Like the genres bleed into each other. I feel like more than ever before.
Yeah, it's like everybody has a choose your own adventure,
which I think is
musically
cool.
and artistically, and yeah. I mean, it's a byproduct of the social media stuff, but then, I mean, then everybody expects it from every other aspect of life, and it in my opinion, at least, it does create some issues, and that people just don't want to be realistic about things anymore. You know, like it's.
What's your like favorite?
Go into that another time.
Okay, favorite song, that's very subjective. So how about let's go most influential artist of the decade. I think we can debate that pretty heavily, but there's so many.
Oof. Artist. Yeah, there are quite a few. I mean, super subjective, really hard to
I think I know what
pin down, but I would say
I knew you were going to say
probably
that. Yeah.
Skrillex. Well, because I mean, we're talking about this fusion of music and stuff. He really was the spearhead for that. I mean, you have guys like Borgore and all of that who came out around that time frame and influenced him, but really at the end of the day, he's the one who, like, I mean, he headlines all sorts of crazy big tours and stuff. When he started, he was only listened to by like 30 punk kids.
Now he's just like this household name,
you know.
Yeah, that is true, and he's bridged a lot of divides between a lot of different like genre fan bases. So like he's collaborated with like reggae artists, with rap artists, with he's in From First to Last, which is one of the founding emo bands of the 2000s, and it's just like that guy's done a lot with just in music in general. EDM, obviously, a lot of different types of EDM music, and it's I would agree with that.
Yeah,
but just to throw out another name, if I may, honestly, I would say, man. Okay, now that I'm about to say this name, I don't know if I ever want to be on record saying it, just because like it's one of those things where it's just like trying to be objective. So I'll say it. Yeah,
it's okay.
Fuck it. Kanye West. I think he's a very influential, like arguably the most influential. And I hate that I have to say it just because like I want to be the person who's like, well, actually, Tyler the Creator is the most influential, which I would also throw his name out there as one of the most, but I don't know about the most. But just look at all the releases that Kanye has put out in the decade. Definitely set the tone for the next couple years, at least in like popular music, like through the artwork, through the tone, through the subject matter. Like you see when he puts out an album, then all of a sudden all these other artists start leaning that way. And then when he puts out another album that goes directly in another opposite direction, then all of a sudden all the rest of the music kind of goes that way, at least in pop music. And that trend is just crazy. Like,
yeah,
I'm not even really a Kanye fan, but I have to respect the fact that he has been able to do that, and he has that much pull within music in general.
Yeah, he's definitely, I mean, crazy though he may be, he definitely has a strange aura of talent about him that very few people also have. I would say, like, he's probably on the same tier as people like Adele and Beyonce, where they're not, I'm not trying to compare them musically to this group, but influentially they're like the Beatles of our generation in the amount that they are able to kind of sway music and sway people's what they want to hear. You know, they've like someone like Tyler, he made a splash and forced a lot of rappers to kind of change up their game and be better. But Kanye, when he does something, pretty much the entire music industry listens and adjusts. You know, he's a
and then of course you can say what you want about his political switching up. Like that was a part of the decade too that a lot of people that talk about crazy. That was pretty wild. No, I definitely didn't expect that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I didn't see it happening, but it didn't really surprise me a ton just because of his personality. He cannot feel like he's it's that he cannot feel like he's going with the crowd. He has to be doing his own thing at all times. I think that his political thing, I think this is just a side effect of his personality, honestly. That you can't tell him what to think. And I disagree with him, but I respect him for that a ton. That he's not like, because he's gotten so much blowback, and the fact that he's just kind of staying strong, and that's kind of one thing about this era is, in this decade, it's kind of the social landscape has kind of changed and this is where I'm not a huge fan of social media. The crowd really changes what people say and think publicly, because you get 30 million people jumping down your throat if you say the wrong thing. You know, and exactly.
The not popular thing.
And things that happened 30 years ago come up, and people's lives are like destroyed, and he's managed to kind of say, you know what, screw you, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah. Right.
And, cry about it if it hurts your feelings, and that's something that I really respect.
Well, I think a lot of people do, even people that don't really, I know there's a lot of people that don't agree with him politically, but they do respect the fact that he actually does believe what he says, for better or worse, he believes,
Yeah.
And he's not waning in the face of public outcry. But another part of the decade that is really interesting to me is, like, technology-wise, where we were. I mean, this also pertains to social media, obviously, but, like, the iPhone, at least back when I remember it, back in the beginning of the decade, was still kind of shitty, like smartphones were like, remember there was the first Android phone was like it was actually called the Android, and it was supposed to be like I forget whose answer, like I forget who made it, but it was supposed to be the answer to the iPhone. And now every phone that's not an iPhone is basically called an Android.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Verizon who made it. Made the original Android phone itself, and Google did the operating system. And that's why, every phone that is not an iPhone has the Android operating system, which is weird to me, because it seems like you'd have.
I know Windows definitely tried,
but apparently not. I mean, Samsung does, but
those Windows phones were shitty. I had one for like 3 years.
Yeah,
garbage.
Ouch. Yeah. Windows did do. I think Windows made the Zune, which was their answer to the iPod. And I'm not gonna lie, the Zune was dope.
The Zune?
And I miss it, and they need to bring it back, because I loved that thing. Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Dude, it was awesome.
I just don't like Windows operating systems on like phones. That was so bad when I had my Nokia, but maybe it's because it's Nokia. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Listen, I agree. They definitely should stay out of phones, for sure. You have no quarrel with me over that, but the Zune was kick-ass. It was really cool. I really wish I still had mine because it was super fun to like, and like they had like their own app store, and I don't know. I could go on about that. I love the Zune. It was one of my favorite things. I was genuinely hurt when I found out that they weren't going to make them.
How long
anymore.
did you have one for?
I was genuinely saddened by that.
3 years?
About 3 years.
I'm trying to remember, like,
about 3 years, yeah.
If I remember you having it or not, but
it was like most of middle school.
That's okay. So it was that time. It was in the beginning. Nice.
Yeah.
Another thing that, like, technology-wise is just, like, the video games that were played in the early 2010s and now. It's crazy that we've only had one console, like, changeover within this decade. We had, like, what, 2 last decade? Or was it just one?
We had... I think it was just one because we had PlayStation. No, it was a couple. Because I think in like early 2000.
Yeah.
I don't know because I was like a baby. We were super young.
Oh, PlayStation 2
I think you had,
came out in early 2000s.
Yeah. I think maybe very beginning of the 2000s you still had the PlayStation and the just PlayStation and then like Sega or whatever, and then you have the Xbox and PlayStation 2, and then 2007 you get Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Yeah, I don't know, but it's, I mean, it is insane how much the technology has changed. Like, you look at what we had in 2010, you have things like, I don't know. I can't even think of anything that was coming out.
I just know that, like, the quality of games has gotten a lot better. However, the way we consume games definitely has changed. Because back then, we were able to still, like, I mean, we can do this now, but it takes a fuck ton of time. Because you have to download part of the game to the fucking console, right? If specifically for console games, because PC, it's a totally separate world. But when, like, I would be able to be like, hey, Gavin, can I borrow Mass Effect 2? And you were like, yeah. You would give it to me at school. I play it, give it back. Easy, right? There's nothing happens. Mm-hmm. Now, hey, Gavin, can I borrow Mass Effect 4? Sure. But then when I put it in my fucking PS4, I have to download part of it to the hard drive. Let's say I don't have enough space, so I have to buy an external hard drive that could fuck everything up. And add that game onto the external hard drive, and you can't move the external hard drive. Like, there's just so many things that are involved with just playing a game now. That it's just, and also the fact that you could just download games from the console through Wi-Fi and straight onto the hard drive instead of having to go into GameStop and see if they have a disc because they might have ran out. Or I know this was one of your favorite ways of making money, Gavin, but selling your games back to GameStop for an astronomical discount to them was one of your favorite ways to make money in the early 2010s. And that's kind of gone now.
Listen, man. Yeah, well, but back then they had a more fair system, and if you knew how to use it correctly, you wouldn't turn a profit ever, but you could get almost to
zero
was the method?
If you
did it right.
I'm curious. How was that method?
Well, number one, the more games you sell to them, the better. And because they have to check each game for quality. They have to look at each one. If they only have to look at 1 or 2 discs, they're going to look very intently at those mofos to make sure that they're good. You're not selling them crap. Like they're not all scratched up and stuff. If they have to look at 15, then by the time they reach like their fifth or sixth one, they're just kind of opening it, making sure it's not split in half, and then putting it back. So, if you clean the discs up enough and make sure that if you have any weird scratches or anything in there, if you find a way to hide them, you can, like, I think it was like Windex and toothpaste and stuff. You could put it. You could do some disc surgery, and a game that they would have given you like $5 for, they give you 15.
Yeah.
And then it gets you, like I said, you're still losing money, but you're losing way less money.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And that's what I did. And then then they switched up their system, and they're like, okay, so you brought in your entire library of PlayStation 3 games. So that's what is that? 45 games, the system, a controller, a charger, an HDMI cable. We can give you $10. That's what it's like now.
Yeah, it's fucked up now because they're losing money. Like, they're not. That's a company that's kind of going the way of Blockbuster, and so like
majorly
they can't afford to be as generous with their buyback system anymore. So it's a lot different. Yeah. That's why you go into a GameStop now, and there's a bunch of like Funko Pops, and there's a bunch of like clothes, and there's not even like really any games specifically. Like, there are obviously, but they're like trying to pivot more towards like becoming a Hot Topic kind of place. And what I'm
like
Hot Topic plus games
kind of sad about. Yeah. When GameStop goes away, I'm going to be really sad, because one thing that I really enjoyed was when when Skyrim came out. You pre-ordered the game, you go there at like 10 o'clock at night the day before it comes out, and there's like 100 people waiting in line. They do like little activities. There's a bunch of people dressed up. You're all talking about like, oh, what's it gonna be like? And did you see that trailer? And did you see the gameplay? Like it's everybody who's there. You're all
of all ages
for the
too.
Same reason. Everybody's super excited. Yeah, all ages. Like we met like dudes that were like in their 40s that were waiting. And then you go in, you get your game, and then you high five all the people you were talking to in line, and then you go home and, in my case, stay up till 5 a.m.
And that's the thing too that is gone, is that feeling of, okay, I got the game, I'm gonna go home and just play it. Now it's like, okay, I got the game, but I'm not gonna be able to play it until tomorrow because my Wi-Fi fucking sucks, and it takes me 5 days just to download part of the game onto my hard drive, and like that excitement just goes away, pretty quickly. To the point where like for instance, like like last weekend, you and I were on the phone. I forgot I even bought Last of Us Remastered. I forgot. Because last year it was on sale, and I was like, cool, dude, I'm going to buy it. And then it just like, okay, it's going to take you like 4 days to download it. And I was just like, yeah, I'll wait. And I forgot. It's been a whole year. I forgot I even bought it. So it's definitely very different. But one funny thing I remember just personally that happened within the decade was when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out. And we stayed in that line for hella long. And we had to have parental supervision because it's an M-rated game. And we were like 16 at the time when it came out. So like we were in line, and we were probably, I'm surprised to say that we were probably the youngest people in that line. And talking to everybody, and just like, there was one guy specifically who will remain nameless just because I don't know if he'd be cool. He's a cool guy. But we remember we like met some guy who was like in his 30s at the time, and he was like talking to us the whole time, and he wasn't creepy at all or anything. He was just super cool, super chill, was super funny. And we, like I still follow him on Instagram to this day. So shout out that boy. Great guy. We I think you know who I'm talking about, but
I know exactly who you're talking about.
But that's just a funny story that I think about. And I remember like when it was our turn to go in, like they almost like fucked up your like order. I remember like they were like, we don't have you in the system or something. Or did that happen to me? I forget.
I don't remember. I do remember there being something weird though. And then we were like, dude, we've been here since 6, and you were the one who did my pre-order, so come on, dude. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I remember
I don't even know, that was,
I think that was the first game that I
what were you
remember
gonna say?
having to download part of it onto my console, though. Like on my 360, like it took a minute, and then I had to go to sleep.
I was really irritated because I remember we both went to our individual houses and we were like, dude, you ready to play it? We put it in, and it's downloading.
And it's a school night.
And I think we talked. Yeah, like I think we talked till like 2 a.m. and I was like, "What are you at?" You're like, 35%. I was like, same. Then we went to school, didn't it? I think. So you went to bed. I think I stayed up for like 10 minutes and like started it, but I was like, I need to sleep, dude.
Because that game starts really slow too. It's like not. I mean, obviously, like the first mission, you're in that like where was it, in like Alaska or some shit? Yeah, the bank robbery. But I mean, to get to the nitty gritty of the game where like you can drive around and just fuck around. It takes you like 2 hours to get to that point in that game. But speaking of most influential things, is Skyrim or Grand Theft Auto 5 the most influential game of the decade? Or is there somebody else? Is there another contender? I just feel like they've stayed relevant the most out of like every game.
I would say a close, and this kind of like your Kanye example. This one really, really hurts me, but
Sims
unlike
4.
Kanye, I hate this one with a burning, fiery passion. Grand Theft Auto.
What?
I mean, God, dude, my brain
That's
is
fine.
fried. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Call of Duty. Call of Duty is probably the most influential game of like the last 20 years.
but I mean,
Honestly.
which one though? Because there's hundreds, well not hundreds, but there's dozens of different Call of Duties that have come out this decade. I feel it's like one a year, right?
That's kind of what
just
I
the
mean,
franchise.
Is the franchise itself comes out so often, and people still buy it. I don't understand why.
I heard
Don't
this
waste your
this
money.
one that just came out is actually really good.
Yeah, it's really because they got punished because the last one was crappy. So they were like, "Oh no, we have to actually like do well." But yeah, that I mean, well, I don't know, influential individual game. I probably Grand Theft
think so?
Auto. Probably Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, because I mean, think about it. Because Grand Theft Auto 4 came out in like 2008,
Something
9,
like that.
somewhere around there. And we waited like 7 years for it, and pretty much everybody that I knew at least was talking about, like, dude, when are they going to do another one? You know, it was like a topic of conversation for all of middle school, most of high school. You know, it was like a huge thing, and then it came out, and it's still like on the top selling games list. For like PSN, it's still like one of the top games. And I mean, Skyrim is like that too, but Skyrim is a little bit more niche, I would say. Less people were excited about it. It was mostly like hardcore Elder Scrolls fans. And then it grew over the years. It kind of had like a gradual incline.
I feel like there's just, in terms of like most relevant game, I feel like Grand Theft Auto definitely is the more relevant game. But in terms of like most culturally influential game, I'd say Skyrim, just because like the memes that have come out of Skyrim in the early 2010s were some of the most like just like like some of the best memes at the time. Okay, and this was like 2011 2012 memes. Okay, so it wasn't like anything crazy by today's standards, but at the time, dude, those were funny as fuck. Super funny.
They were really funny, and everybody used them.
Even people who didn't play the game.
My mom used the arrow to the knee joke. Yeah, my mom used that one, and I was like, "Oh my god, Mom, no, you don't even know."
And
what
the
this is
Fusro Da,
from.
the Fusro Da.
Yeah.
Dude, like
that was awesome. The commercials. Do you remember the one? It's like a Korean grocery store.
Yeah.
Or something. And it's like a little old lady opens all the doors in the entire freezer aisle. That was super fun.
That was a good one.
Or the one of the guy on PCP taking on like 12 cops. And then he like sprints at him doing like weird kung fu.
God. Yeah, that was a good. See those are great. I love them, and that's why I feel like we can distinguish between the two. But I would agree if we were just going, just overall obviously, Grand Theft Auto 5 has done a lot more with their online gaming, and that's one other thing that's been expanded a lot this decade, just with video games. A lot of games, for better or worse, whether you hate it or not, are just focusing on multiplayer instead of a core story, which I hate, but that is something that's happened this decade. That is, important.
Yeah, it's like it's cool in that like I can. Like, you can seamlessly play games with your friends. I live 400 miles away. We can hop on and play something. But on the other hand, just like me personally, I don't really like playing games online. I think to me, it's just boring.
Yeah. You're more of a narrative-based player.
And
as am I.
Yeah, I enjoy to see, like... Even in games where there's not really a whole lot of story, I like the idea of like in XCOM, where like there is a story. You don't really, I don't pay attention to it at all. I have no idea what I'm actually doing, but I enjoy the elements of like making you my squad member and trying to make sure that your character gets out alive and stuff, and then like that kind of stuff is fun because then I have stories to tell where it's like, dude, you were surrounded by like 10 people and you were going to die, but then Macho Man Randy Savage came in and saved you. Like, that's awesome.
Using your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the best parts about video games, man. It's taking the conversation into another part of the decade. And now this might go over your head, Gavin, so I might just be on a little soliloquy for a minute. But in terms of sports, a lot has changed in the landscape of baseball, basketball, football, just in terms of how the games are each played. In the basketball specifically, in the beginning of the decade, you still had positions that were like hardcore, like you have to have a center, you have to have a power forward, you have to have a small forward, a point guard, and a shooting guard. Like now, like nobody's going like, okay, you're a center, so you have to play this way. Like it's positionless basketball now, which I feel like is a lot more fluid and it's a lot more fun to watch than just being like, oh look, it's the big guy, he's down by the basket. Like you have like guys that are like 7'4" shooting threes, and it's just like fun. It's just a lot more fun. It's more unpredictable. It's a lot more entertaining. Also, the NBA in general has gotten a lot more popular over this past decade. Eclipsing baseball. It's more popular than baseball in terms of viewership. So that's pretty wild. Also, football. We've come full circle. In the beginning of the decade, we had quarterbacks that were more running style. They wouldn't throw the ball a whole lot. RG3, Colin Kaepernick, just to name a couple. Those guys have kind of gone away. And now you have more of those types of quarterbacks, taking over the NFL. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, I'd say to a lesser extent Dak Prescott. So that's another way that this decade has kind of come full circle in sports. But there's one constant, Gavin, and I know that you know this guy. One constant that has always been there, who is through all of last decade has been super successful, and this decade has been even more successful, and that man is Tom Brady. Gavin's favorite football player,
Mm-hmm.
favorite athlete of all time. And
Yes.
he's still winning, man. That's all he does is win.
That's all he knows how to do, because when you're that good, I mean, he probably tries to lose. He probably tries. He feels bad that he's so dominant. He's like, man, if I could lose sometimes, it'd help all these other teams maybe try harder. You know, they give him a taste of victory.
Yeah,
but he's just too good. He can't help himself. You know,
Jesus.
But
yeah.
On another note, so another thing in sports, the one thing that I can talk to is the titanic rise and explosion of UFC.
Oh yeah.
And like MMA fighting has just blown up. Like you have Bellator, UFC. I mean, even like fake fighting, like WWE has blown back up again. There's like weird generic knockoff wrestling that's happening as well.
Generic knockoff wrestling.
Yeah, have you seen that? It's like it's not TNA, but it's something
AEW.
else. Like the AEW. Yeah, like
Cody Rhodes and Chris Jericho are on that, dude. It's crazy.
I know. Chris Jericho's fat and old now.
Yeah, but he's the champ for some reason.
Him? Dude, he's Tubby Jericho.
Tubby Jericho.
Really
Tubby Jericho.
Yeah, dude. Tubby Jericho. When I saw that on a commercial, there's like, he's going to fight Chris Jericho for the title belt. And I saw him. I didn't think it was him. I was like, man, Chris Jericho's going to take that. Oh, that's Chris
He grew
Jericho.
his hair out again, too. He looks like how he did from the 90s. It's crazy with Chris Jericho, just how young he looks with short hair and how old he looks with long hair. He looks so fucking old. Oh, my God.
With short hair, he looks like freaking Gordon Ramsay. It's really funny.
I used to think he was gay back in the day.
Yeah.
Dude, just because how he used to, how he would walk out, he would always wear like super flashy suits and stuff, and his hair looked kind of like Ellen DeGeneres' hair. So I was just like, I don't know. I was like 11 at the time, okay? And I was just like, oh, he's probably gay.
Didn't know.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just thought he was, and now I'm finding out, obviously, he's not. And it's just like funny. Looking back on the perceptions of your past. At the beginning of the decade, the perception was that, and now it is not. But wrestling has come back around, and I'm just curious as to like why, because I've tried to watch wrestling, and it's just not interesting anymore to me. Like it's just not fun. Like the character, like the wrestlers, just really don't have much personality in my opinion, and even watching the matches themselves, it's like, okay, like I don't see the excitement in it anymore. Like the only people that I can really connect with are the wrestlers that I grew up watching. Even John Cena at this point, I'm like, okay, I can watch a John Cena match or a Rey Mysterio match.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not gonna watch a Roman Reigns versus fucking some other random dude, you know, Ryan Styles or whatever, AJ Styles or whatever, Ryan Styles. But
yeah,
I'm not gonna watch that match. Like, I don't care. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm old now. But
it's now I understand why like our dads and uncles and stuff would always give a shit about our wrestlers.
yeah,
You know, like they'd be like, man, this Edge guy is lame. We had Randy Savage and Mick Foley and Stone Cold.
and The Rock.
Like, we had all these guys. The Rock, yeah. Who's this freaking Edge dude? He sucks.
I know.
John Cena is with his spinny belt. What the hell?
And to us, Edge was like,
You know?
dude, it's Edge though. He's Edge. Like, what? Like,
yeah.
fuck. Yeah, that's another
So
thing.
cool.
With wrestling, the changing of the guard in the WWE in the beginning of the decade, you still had Undertaker doing his thing. You had CM Punk was still kind of an unknown guy. Like, he was known, but he wasn't like one of the, you know, most popular wrestlers in the world. You had Shawn Michaels still
2010?
around. Yeah.
No way. No way. That was like 2009.
What do you mean?
I thought CM Punk was like out of the WWE by like 2011.
No, he was out in 2014.
Oh, dang, man.
Yeah, he did
really
his
out of the game.
He did his crazy like fourth wall breaking promo in like 2012, and then that's when he took over because he was like just doing like straight like jobber status stuff, and then he just cut that promo, went totally against the WWE, and instead of the WWE punishing him for that, they like leaned into it, and
yeah,
they're like, okay,
smart
fine.
move.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like you have a lot of popularity.
You know what?
because
I
you did that.
remember. Yeah, because I remember we went. I think it was high school. My brothers and I saw it live, and he was there. And I hadn't watched it in a couple years, and I just see a bald CM Punk.
Oh, bald Punk.
With like a mountain. He was bald with like a mountain man beard.
Yeah.
And he rolls out, and I was the only one cheering for him in the entire stadium. I was like, yeah! And then some little kid turned around and booed me. Boo! Like, in my face. I was like, oh, all right. I didn't know that CM Punk sucked now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then he left, and then he tried his hand at fighting. Real fighting.
Yeah, good times, good times. But it's just like Edge was still around, Shawn Michaels was still kicking. Bret Hart made a couple appearances this decade. That was crazy. The Undertaker now is like only rolled out during WrestleMania, and even that his streak's done. So there's no like excitement there. Just retire. I don't get it. If your streak is over, obviously everybody was waiting for that. Somebody to break the streak. And that would be his last match, losing to whoever he picked to be the next guy of the franchise of the company moving forward. That was obviously what was going to happen, but he's still around. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. That's part of the reason why I stopped watching WWE, just because I don't even. There's not even any like excitement, because before you'd be like, oh, is Undertaker going to be able to keep the next guy off the streak, and there's no excitement in that anymore. I don't know. But let me think. Is there another angle that we can hit the decade from?
Movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
What movies even came out in 2010?
been-
I don't even remember.
That's the thing. There's so many movies coming out over the years that it's just.
But we can talk about a certain type of movie. The superhero movie has taken over.
Oh yeah.
This past decade.
It has. It's been a huge. I mean, thanks in part to Disney for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's become a huge phenomenon, and I mean, I have to eat some humble pudding right now and admit I was wrong. I thought that it would be a thing for like 5 years and then peter out.
Yeah.
Nope. It's gotten way bigger than I ever imagined. Because I remember when the first Avengers came out, I was like, oh man, this is going to be done soon. This is, I mean, really? And then they made like 5 million more movies that all made like $1 billion.
Yeah.
And it's here to stay.
Yeah. That is true. And it's just crazy what Marvel has been able to do in this past decade, which we've talked about extensively on the podcast. Mm-hmm. We have Quint Kalani, the expert on Marvel Matters, has gone through it quite often, but that
I mean it eclipsed Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh god.
Which to me is I mean, we'll talk about this at a later date, but if Gavin in 2014 found out that Marvel would eclipse Star Wars, he would have flipped out.
Yeah.
But a post episode 7 and 8 Gavin kind of says it's time to pass the torch. It's okay.
And a post.
I accept this.
And a post Infinity War and Endgame Gavin
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
The torch has. I mean, Star Wars is still number one in my heart, but
It was just good, dude.
uh,
It was just good.
yeah, yeah.
That ending at the how everything went down in Endgame is basically like obviously, I mean, you're making the comparison, but it's the equivalent of in Episode 6, the fight between Darth Vader and Luke, and then the Emperor gets thrown down the shaft, and then it's over. Like, yeah, epic, super epic.
Yeah,
very epic.
Yeah.
With movies specifically.
I mean, but here's
sorry.
Well, sorry. There's one major trend in movies that is really kind of sad and disheartening is kind of the death of the individual director with a dream. Like, you have your Tarantinos, you have your Scorsese, who they have a vision and then they make their movie. But for the most part, most movies now are kind of written and directed and produced by a committee.
Yeah.
You know, there's no... Like, I mean, with Marvel, I think is Kevin Feige. Is that who's in charge?
Kevin
of Marvel?
Feige. He's the guy who like reads over everything and like smooths everything out and makes sure everything's cohesive. Yeah.
Yeah, like you have him as he has like a general view of it for the franchise. Like he knows the direction and all that, but you don't have. I don't know. There's no. You don't have movies coming out really that it's like. This is a good movie made by a good director.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to go see it. That's not really a thing. Like, you really, Tarantino's the only one that gets large amounts of people to go see it. And, like, every now and again, you'll get a good one, like Midsummer or The Witch or...
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of other stuff, but even those, they really don't draw crowds anymore.
Right.
It's everybody's going to see whatever Disney is producing,
or
Ministry of Entertainment,
or they just wait until it comes out on Netflix, which is another thing that I was going to touch on quickly, is that a lot of now that Netflix is starting to make original content, they have been for years. They weren't in 2010, and now they are. Also. Like there's all these streaming services now. How media is consumed has totally changed. A lot of people are cutting the cord and cutting cable and those types of like Dish Network, DirecTV, AT&T, like all those TV distributors. Like they're gone. Like not gone, but they're definitely losing profit. They've had to pivot more towards online streaming, where that's more affordable for people. So that's one big trend over the course of the decade. And that also ties into movies because people just now wait for them to come out to Netflix or to Hulu or to Amazon Video instead of going to the movies to see these films. Like,
yeah, see, this is where I'm kind of conflicted. On one hand, the fact that the cable companies are dying brings me so much joy. I've always hated it. Even before streaming was an option, I hated cable.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you have to schedule what you want to watch and you have to remember to record an episode, otherwise you miss it and you have to go find it another time. Like,
yeah.
It always made me really it always irritated me. So I'm glad that they're going the way of the dinosaur because they suck and they're practically criminal. The amount that they charge people and
dude, it's crazy.
Manipulate you into getting it's insane.
And how they target old people specifically.
Yeah. I see that all the time. It's super annoying. But, then on the other hand though, I am someone who really, really enjoys going to the movies.
Yes.
As
do I.
I don't do it. Yeah, I don't do it very often. I only do it for very select movies, but when I go, I make it like a thing.
Yes.
I'll get dinner, have a drink or two, go to the movie, sit back, watch it, and like it's like a whole event.
Right.
And ever since I was from when Lord of the Rings came out in '99.
Dang, that's crazy. It's '99.
Yeah, I was there. I was really little, but I was there. all the Star Wars prequels, the newer ones, a bunch of the Marvel movies. Like I like, you go with your friends and you make a thing out of it,
Right.
and that's kind of dying, and that's weird to me. That's sad.
Yeah, that is sad.
It's almost going to be a hipster thing to go to the movies, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That's the interesting thing about this decade. Big trends are starting to go away, like going to the movies, things like that. But going to the movies at like chain movie theaters like Century, Regal, like all those types of movie theaters. But like small art house movie theaters, like maybe it's just my locations, like where I've lived this past decade, but like there are so many thriving little art house movie theaters out in like San Francisco, and there's one in Sacramento that's going strong, and they always have like really crazy, really interesting, intriguing indie movies. And you can extend that to like it's not exactly the same, but in music, like record play, like people are listening to records again more than CDs. Like I was reading an article about that and how people would rather buy a record than a CD, and how it costs more to make the CD, but you can or it costs more to make the record, but you can charge more for it. So it's actually more cost effective for the artist too to sell records as opposed to CDs. It's that's a trend this past decade that definitely was not around last decade of the 2000s. People are definitely all about CDs, and now it's come back to records and record players, which is very interesting to me.
It's interesting, but to me, I'm a cynical a-hole, but to me it's like, why? Like we have the perfect way to consume music. You have Spotify and Apple Music. Just freaking download it and listen to it that way.
Yeah.
We're not in the 60s. If you're over the age of 70 and you want nostalgia for your record player, yes, I support you. If you're in your 20s and you're buying a Nirvana, this is a message. If you're in your 20s buying a Nirvana freaking record, you suck. Okay? I'm sorry. It's because you go to Urban Outfitters, buy the record player, and you get your Nirvana album, does not make you a Nirvana fan. It makes you trendy, which is exactly like her. Oof.
Wow.
It's the most disgusting thing ever that Nirvana is being hoarded out like that, and that a bunch of old punk and grunge bands are being put on these records and sold as commodities when they would disdain that.
Wow.
It's
okay. That is a trend. This past decade, that is something that happened. Everyone wants to be like vintage and like, the hipster culture of like 2011 to 2014, 2015, like those years.
My issue with it is not the idea of like going back and doing your own thing. I get that. I get the wanting to do that. I understand it. But it's commercialized. You cannot pretend that you're going against the grain and being hipster and being your own thing when it's a trend in like all of society, and it's commercialized by giant corporations and huge businesses like Urban Outfitters. It's not hipster anymore. It's not against the grain anymore. You're just buying into the machine that you claim to not like.
But exactly.
It's like when you tweet from your iPhone while drinking a Starbucks cup about how bad capitalism is. While wearing your non-prescription glasses that you just think make you look cute. It's not we see what you're doing. Yeah. And your ignorance is silly. Anyway. Sorry. It's fine. I live in the capital of this kind of behavior, and it to me is just like, it's the pinnacle of dishonesty. Like, you're doing it because everybody else is doing it, and it's just ugh. I don't know why.
Yeah, I understand, and if I were younger, if I were a younger man, I would agree with you. But at this point, I don't know. Though I feel like the statements you have just made are definitely things that have been pent up for many years. So I understand. I had that mentality way back, in the day, and it's just like at this point I just kind of like roll my eyes at it. I'm just like, whatever. God, whatever. I don't care.
I only care because it's like a societal cancer that people think they're woke, but in reality you just have eye-shaped blinders on.
Yeah.
You know? And this extends to more than just style and buying records and stuff. It's everything. Mm-hmm. And that's something that in the past decade to me has changed, where it's like there's so much positive, really cool stuff happening, but at the same time, people are just oblivious to the real world around them, And
no, I agree.
It terrifies me to be in the same age range as so many people that just don't even try to understand things beyond their immediate life and their immediate surroundings.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree with that. Last trend that I want to, or last thing that happened during this decade that I want to kind of touch on is, you kind of already talked about it, but that kind of social, climate, the social climate has definitely shifted within this country, and I would say across the world, at least the Western world, because of social media and all these things. This like, people call it cancel culture. Before it was, the fourth wave feminism movement that has really died down recently. At least from my perspective, it's died down. I don't know if it really has, but all these different ideas that are coming to the forefront, some positive and some people would argue are overblown. What do you have to say about those changes socially? Has there been was there an overcorrection? Do you think that during the decade there was a desire to overcorrect? And now people are kind of evening out, where they're like, yeah, it's not okay to say these things, but like, come on, like these other things that's kind of crazy. Like, you gotta calm down. Like, it's too much. That's too much. Like, do you think that's happening now, or is it still the people trying to be too quote unquote PC?
I mean, I think that we're. I don't think it's correcting yet. I think we're in the beginning stages of people saying, hey, maybe making inappropriate jokes is good for society sometimes. I think people are starting to realize that because of, thank God for heroes like Dave Chappelle, who go out there and remind people that, at the end of the day, to really face problems, you have to be able to laugh at them first and understand that they are solvable. But I think it's like the fact that tonight at 11:30, I'm going to be watching Rick and Morty. I'm going to enjoy the episode, I'm going to laugh at it, and then tomorrow morning I'm going to see on my Google News feed about how something in the episode was problematic. And I'll see like 10 articles about that. Or or the fact, like, if someone slips up in an interview or something. Or like Billy D. Williams, the original Lando Calrissian.
Billy D., my man.
In an interview recently, he said, things have gotten. This is not verbatim, but the gist of what he said was, things have gotten crazy, but I like that this society has made it okay for me to get in touch with my feminine side. Because he has daughters and a wife, and he can connect with them better because society allows for that now, which is really cool. That's a really cool side effect of our weird overcorrection over the last decade. A news article was written that says Billy D. Williams comes out as gender fluid. And he like freaked out and was like, no, that's not what I was saying. And now he's in trouble for saying that, because now he's gender fluid phobic, I guess.
For correcting the claim
Yes.
that he's gender fluid when he's not.
Yes, and that to me is it's this example of there are positive things that have happened as a result of this, but at the same time, we have this weird, like, I don't even know how to put it into words. It's just I don't like it. It seems I don't know. I think, sorry, I kind of ranting, got off the point, but I think that we're in the beginning stages of a correction as people kind of come back to their senses, but I think we're still in the middle of it. And
you think so?
Yeah, just because it's so, I just think we're used to it. You know, you're used to seeing everybody freak out over every little thing now, and there's nothing to like. There's no recourse. Until we turn it on the people who like to, fan the flames, until we turn against them, I don't think it's going to get better.
Right. I agree.
But nobody will, because we're all scared of them.
Yeah. And I think that there are like you said, there are positive things that have come out of it, but there are also negative things. And I feel like people are realizing now that there are negative things, because in the beginning of the decade, people were like, no, we have to perceive the world through this sort of lens, or else you're evil, and all these super woke, quote unquote, types of perceptions. And now people are like, wait, it's not really, like, diversity is everywhere. And, like, people are going to have different opinions, and that's kind of okay, as long as you try to understand it. And you don't have to agree, but just understand where they're coming from,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
I feel like that is where we're heading now, but it's going to take more time, like you said. But
yeah, I mean, it's the broader cultural thing is why I say that we're on this precipice. Is that if it seems like things are getting better and we're starting to kind of be adults about things now, but if what we're currently experiencing stays the way it is, if this is just the new culture, we're going down. You can't have a society cannot exist in which everybody's always fighting everybody for weird, stupid, petty reasons at all times. And it's the reason that, not to speak his name, but the reason that Trump won the first time was because of this behavior. And if we want him out of office, we need to get our shit together and, act like adults and not freak out when Buttigieg says the wrong thing, or because Bernie Sanders has the ethnic makeup that he does. You can't, we can't. If we focus on those things, guess what you're going to get in 2020? Trump. You're going to get 4 more years of Trump. I'll put it out. That's my prediction, honestly. Is if
you think it's going to happen? You think he's going to win again?
I think he's going to win again, because if there's not a major change in the way we do things, then yeah, he's going to win again, because everybody's so, they just want to fight each other over everything. And it's really disheartening, because we, if we didn't do that, with all the, just to kind of my final thoughts, I guess, but if we did not tear each other down for every single little thing, with the connectivity of social media and with all this technology that we have, and this individuality that really is, that's kind of the name of the game this last decade, individuality. If we were to not tear each other down so much, we could make such insanely great changes to society, but instead everybody wants to fight. And so you're going to get more of the same,
Yeah. It's very true. Very true. And I hope that this next decade, the Rawring 20s, I hope in the Rawring 20s that we can maybe work a little more cohesively to get that to come to fruition.
Yeah.
That'd be nice to see. But it remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Now, before we go, quickly, do you have any predictions for this next decade?
Ooh.
Maybe before you could be anything for yourself. For me, you could predict where I'm going to be. You could predict how society's going to be. You could predict who's going to be in the White House in 2030 or 2032. I don't know when the next election is going to be around that time, but I think it will be 2032. Or who will be the president at the end of this decade? Anything. Just give us something.
Okay.
I'll give you something after you give me something.
Okay. Let me think for a second. When the Razr comes out again, it will replace iPhone as the dominant phone on the market. And we will all have flip phones again.
Oh, God.
Just you wait. Flip phones are on the rise, brother. They're coming.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, no, but realistically, we didn't really touch on this. We touched on technology a bit, but realistically, I think we're going to get significant advances in AI over the next couple of years. And it's I foresee a major development on that front. And it'll be a major turning point for society. That's what I think. Either in the late 2020s or the early 2030s, AI is gonna become like an actual thing. Because like we're so close to it. I mean, on Amazon, they give me this is what we think you'll like, and it's like creepily correct. You know, and like everywhere you go, they have artificial intelligence that like helps you shop, helps you make financial decisions. Like, to me, there's no way that this doesn't advance further and become even more useful.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's a pretty safe bet. I'll give you something a little. This might be a safe bet too, depending on who you talk to. But in 2030, the president of the United States is going to be AOC. Calling it right now. Calling it.
I will move to Canada. Not a joke. Not an exaggeration. I can make it work. I will pull up my roots and find a way to make it in the Canadian finance industry. I am dead serious, dude. No, thank you. No, thank you. I if that happens, I will. What? Listen. I hope I've made this clear, but I'm not a fan of Trump. She is the inverse of him. She's the same exact thing. And neither of them are to be trusted or believed or should hold power in our country. That's my belief. I think we're going to get president. Let me think of a fun one.
President Hillary Clinton in 2030. President Jeb Bush finally comes back.
I want the Jeb. Yeah. I want. I think his name is John Edward Bush. I think that's his name. I want John or it might be Jacob. I don't know. It's some J name. I want Jeb to get his fair shake. You know, the Bush dynasty. You know, he can't do any worse. He literally can't do worse. Like the only way that he could do worse than the rest of his clan is if he like started World War III. That is like the only thing that he can do. And if he doesn't do that, he will be the greatest Bush president ever. I support him. You know what? Jeb Bush 2030, dude.
Will it be 2028?
Whatever.
Yeah.
He has my endorsement because you know what?
Wow.
As a society, we're at the point we're at. F it, why not? Why not? Give him a
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, honestly, I want to see like a Stone Cold Steve Austin presidency. I wonder what that would look like. Like he gives the Stone Cold Stunner to Merkel. He just bah, throws her through a steel table. We don't deal with the EU.
That'd be
in
funny.
America.
Yeah, that'd be funny. I don't know. There's so many predictions I can make, but I guess I'll just stick with my AOC prediction. That's a pretty hefty one, because who knows? There's a lot of things that could change. Everybody was predicting Hillary last time, of course. Everybody thought she was going to win, and she didn't. So who knows? Who knows what could happen?
Here's the one positive thing about an AOC presidency. I have always wanted to live in a Mad Max world. And if that happens, I'll get my chance. And that, to me, is really exciting. So, like, I mean, dude, either things get better or you embrace the chaos. That's all we can do at the end of the day.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, Gavin, is there any other prediction you want to make before we depart? Because I think we've ran our course.
Yes,
anything else you want to say?
Final thought. This is probably better served on a different show, but I think we're gonna get an Old Republic Star Wars of some sort, whether it be a game or a movie. I think that's eventually gonna happen. Yeah.
Nice prediction. I like that. I like that prediction a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot. Also, I feel like in this decade, I feel like you're gonna have a kid before me, and it's gonna be within this next decade. Calling it right now. You're gonna have a kid before me in this decade. You're gonna have a kid in this decade,
bro. I don't have time for that. I
not yet. 10 years though.
10
years
though.
though.
For any of that.
10 years. Dude, it doesn't matter if you have time. It's a matter of all it takes is one night and then boom, kid.
Man.
So
I mean, that requires.
I feel like you're gonna do it. It's gonna happen, and I'm gonna be Uncle Mark.
Oh man, I hope not. I really hope not. I mean,
It might not happen. It might not happen like next year. Okay, obviously not. I feel like the sweet spot 2026 to 2028. Right around there.
My holiday schedule will just be it'll be hell. It'll be hell. I already have like 30 things that I have to go to. And then on top of that, I'm going to have to go to some other crap and like I'm going to have to buy things for someone. Oh, dear. Oh, dear me. No, thank you. I mean, you're probably right.
Yeah.
But, I hope you're
not. I hope I'm not either, but look, man, we're doing hot takes.
Oh.
That's my hot take. And with that,
okay.
I think we'll bid you adieu. We'll bid everybody listening to this an adieu.
Goodbye, wonderful people.
Hope you guys enjoyed this little episode of us walking down memory lane. Please follow us on Instagram at The Closers Podcast, on Twitter at Closers, or not Twitter, fuck, on Facebook at Closers Podcast, and we have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe. It's The Closers Podcast. Catch us. I don't know who's going to be on next week. We're pre-recording this one like we usually do with Gavin. So check the Instagram and the Facebook to see who's going to be on Monday. And we will catch you then.
Goodbye.
Take care.